Yabara Cat's food was irresistible. Anyone who had a taste of her meals always came back for more. The aroma alone could pull you from the other side of the village, make your stomach rumble, and leave you desperate to get a plate. Her restaurant was the busiest in Akur, always packed with customers from morning till night. Some traveled from faraway towns just to eat there. Even if you didn't plan to stop by, once you passed her stall and caught a whiff of whatever she was cooking, your feet would betray you. But there was something strange about Yabara Cat's restaurant. Something unsettling. For one, it didn't matter what time of the day it was. Her shop was always full. Other vendors in the market couldn't understand it. They had been selling food for years, and yet, ever since Yabara Cat opened her stall, their businesses had crumbled. Their customers had abandoned them, flocking to her instead. It didn't make sense. What was she doing differently? What secret ingredient was she using? There was also the matter of the pot. Yabara Cat had a particular pot that she never let anyone touch. It was old, blackened from years of cooking, but she treated it like gold. Whenever she was in the kitchen, she stayed close to it, guarding it like a mother hen. No one was allowed to lift the lid, not even her workers. If anyone dared to go near it, her sharp eyes would pierce right through them, and her voice would cut like a knife. "Do not touch that pot," she warned over and over again. And no one ever did. No one was foolish enough to cross Yabara Cat. But there was one more thing, perhaps the strangest thing of all. Every morning, before the sun had even risen, Yabara Cat left her house and disappeared into the darkness. No one knew where she went. By the time the village woke up, she was already back, stirring something in her precious pot. One food vendor, whose business had suffered greatly because of Yabara Cat, decided she had to find out the truth. She was desperate. She had lost all her customers, and she needed answers. So one morning, she followed Yabara Cat. She kept a safe distance, her footsteps quiet, her breath held. But just when she thought she was about to uncover the secret, something happened. She lost her. It was as if Yabara Cat had vanished into thin air. One moment she was there, walking along the narrow village path. The next moment, she was gone. The vendor searched and searched, but it was useless. Yabara Cat had slipped away like a ghost. The mystery remained. Then came Labak. Labak was young, intelligent, and curious. When she got a job at Yabara Cat's restaurant, she had no idea what she was walking into. But from her very first day, she knew something wasn't right. Before she even stepped into the kitchen, Yabara Cat gave her a warning. "Do not go near that pot," she said, her voice low and firm. "Do not open it. Do not touch it." Labeke glanced at the pot. It sat there, large and silent, like it was hiding something. A chill ran down her spine. She turned to one of the other workers. "Why is she so protective of that pot?" The worker shook their head quickly. "I don't know, and I don't want to know. No one has ever dared to open it." Labake frowned. That only made her more curious. Days passed, and she started watching Yabara Cat closely. Labake's unease grew with each passing day, her mind whispering one terrifying thought. Whatever is inside that pot, it isn't normal. Labake's curiosity burned inside her. She had to find out the truth. So one morning, she decided to follow Yabara Cat. She was careful, more careful than the vendor who had tried before. She stayed hidden in the shadows, her heart pounding as she watched the woman make her way through the village. And then she saw it. Yabara Cat was heading towards a place no living person should ever go. A mortuary. Labake's blood ran cold. She crouched behind a tree, peering through the gaps in the wooden walls, and what she saw made her stomach turn. Yabara Cat was collecting something. A bucket of water. But this was no ordinary water. It was the water used to wash the dead. The dim lantern light flickered over the surface of the water, revealing faint, swirling streaks of something dark. Something that should never be in food. Labake's breath hitched as she saw Yabara Cat dip her fingers into the bucket, murmuring strange words under her breath. A mortuary attendant passed by, barely sparing her a glance, as if this was something she had done many times before. Labake pressed a hand over her mouth, fighting the urge to gag, her mind racing with the horrifying realization. This was the secret behind the taste, the rich, irresistible flavor that had bewitched the entire village. Her legs trembled beneath her as she took a slow step back, knowing she had uncovered something too dark to ignore. Labake clamped a hand over her mouth, struggling not to scream. She wanted to run, to pretend she had never seen this, but she couldn't. She needed to know more. For days, she observed Yabara Cat, putting together the horrifying truth. Every morning, Yabara Cat collected the mortuary water, and then she visited a native doctor. There, he gave her something, a dark substance she carried back to her restaurant. Whatever he gave her, she poured into her special pot. And that's when the real horror began. Labake had to see what was inside that pot. One busy afternoon, when the restaurant was filled with customers, she came up with a plan. She needed to get Yabara Cat away from the pot, even for just a few seconds. So she screamed, "Madam! Madam! The shop is on fire! The shop is on fire!" Yabara Cat, startled, rushed outside in a panic. This was Labake's moment. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were shaking. She crept toward the pot, every step feeling heavier than the last. The air around it was thick, suffocating, like something was warning her to stop. But she didn't stop. She reached for the lid, and slowly she lifted it. What she saw made her let out a blood-curdling scream. Her knees went weak, and the spoon she had been holding slipped from her fingers, clattering onto the floor. The thick, bubbling blood inside the pot seemed to move, rippling as though something beneath the surface was alive. A rotten metallic scent filled her nose, making her stomach churn violently. She staggered backward, her hands shaking uncontrollably, her breath coming in ragged gasps. For a moment, time itself seemed to freeze, then the entire restaurant erupted into chaos. Inside the pot was blood, thick, dark, bubbling blood. The restaurant fell silent. Every single person turned to look, the workers, the customers, everyone. And then, chaos erupted. People screamed, dishes crashed to the ground, customers shoved each other, desperate to get away. Yabara Cat ran back inside, but she knew. She had been caught. Labake's voice shook as she spoke. "She has been feeding us with water from the dead," she cried. "She has been using dark magic to bring customers to her shop." Yabara Cat's face twisted, and then, to everyone's shock, she confessed. She told them everything. She had started her food business with nothing. At first, no one came to her restaurant. Days would pass, and her food would go to waste. She was desperate. She needed money. She needed customers. So she turned to dark magic. The native doctor had told her what to do. He gave her a charm, a potion to pour into her pot. The more the blood boiled, the more people would come. And it worked. The villagers were furious. They chased her, their anger burning hotter than the fire in her kitchen. They chased her deep into the forest, where the trees swallowed her whole. And just like that, she was gone. To this day, no one knows where Yabara Cat disappeared to. Some say the spirit she served finally came for her. Others say she still lurks in the shadows, waiting for another chance to return. But one thing is certain. From that day on, the people of Akur never ate carelessly again. And maybe neither should you, because you never really know what's in your food.